It's Tuesday, April 14th, and we're about to do a public jiu-jitsu class. So again, if you don't have a partner or anything, just do the best that you can, and if nothing else, you can watch for the techniques and strategies that we'll go over today. So,
right, we're actually starting a couple of minutes late today because, ironically, we were on a conference call with Damien and the other affiliates from North America and Europe. What's that? Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So yeah, I think most of the things some of the things we're going to do, you can do on your own. But some of the things, if you don't have a partner, you can just kind of like, try to absorb it for now, maybe do work with, sort of a ghost version of that. And then if you have a situation where you can kind of convince a family member to work with you, then
try jiu-jitsu.
Maybe you can try it a couple times on them. And so anyway, just follow along the best you can. It's funny because one of the things that came up in the conference call with Damien is that he's not able to. He would like to provide an online clinic, for everyone. But the problem is, just like here in Brazil, they're doing quarantine, so he would have to try to smash his wife.
She doesn't do jiu-jitsu, and the kids do, but they're kind of small.
His school is shut down, and he cannot interact with partners and things like that. So he's in the same boat. But and the other affiliates are kind of in the same boat too. But
we're lucky we got each other.
This is a unique situation.
So we can actually do live jiu-jitsu. So that's pretty good. And we get to do jiu-jitsu. Sorry, not to rub it in for those of you who don't have a partner you want to do it with, but
yeah. Once again, we got this big, huge space, the gym here, and it's cool because we can use it, but it's a little weird without other people here. So we would much rather.
Weeds.
Everyone knows. We would much rather have all of you
peoples. Yeah.
We went from seeing 150 people a week to
walk each other.
Yeah.
We love each other, but come on.
But it's fun to train with other people too. But anyway,
these things get a little crazier every time, don't they? Quarantine.
Well, it's important to keep a sense of humor. So,
all right.
The first thing we're going to do is basics in place, fundamentals in place. So we can go back and forth. Let me show you if you want.
Sure.
All right. So sure. All right.
Just gonna turn the mic on. Hopefully you can hear us, but it's getting a little bit better now. We were in a hurry because, like Professor Mark said, we were on a call with Damien and went longer than we expected. So hey, but now we'll know what the difference is. Right? It was like an experiment. We'll know how much better this thing works.
Right. Okay. So.
Right.
Do you want to demo the first one, or do you want me to?
Sure. So the first thing we're going to do is our forward roll. So if you've never done a forward roll before, you want to have one leg up, one knee down. I'm sorry, sir? Yes, we'll do a forward roll, forward, and then we'll do a backwards roll, backwards. So for the forward roll, you're going to tuck yourself into a ball. On the upside is where you want to point your arm, and then put the back of your shoulder on the mat and go forward. And look, I end up sort of getting my body a little bit sideways so I can actually go forward versus diagonal. All right, so that's my forward roll here. Then when I get for my back roll, this time my forward foot tells me, I look towards that foot, the leg that's up, and I put my chin on my shoulder, and my other arm is out, and then I need to sit on the hip near where the arm is and roll towards the arm that's up. And okay? So we'll do a few of those, forwards and back. Would you like me to get started?
It's just adjusting the camera.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, so forward roll, backward roll, do it a few times until while one of us tells you to stop. And go. If you switch which knee you have up, that means you'll switch which shoulder you roll to. Couple more. I think I'm going off camera.
It's the hardest part. Trying to stay on camera.
And that's good. I think Professor Mark's going to tell us the next one.
All right, next we're going to do forward and backward shrimp or hip escape. So, let me show you from the side here. So, the first thing, you bring your feet up close to your hip. I'm going to push my hip up in the air, go on one shoulder, doesn't matter if it's right or left, and now I push my hip back behind my head, like this. Now I'm going to straighten my body out and go to the other side. I pivot on my other shoulder. Now, we go two, and now you're going to dig your heels into the mat, reach forward, dig your heels in, and then pull your hip down toward your feet, like this. When I do, I also pull my hands up over my head. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So let's do it. Go. Be careful not to smash into the furniture or anything like that.
Let's tie my belt back and we'll move to the next one, which I believe the next one we're going to do today is forward, scoot, and back. Right? So I pull with my feet, slide on my bottom, and pull with my arms into my center like I'm pulling on a rope. Okay, so it's 1, 2, and then I do 2 back this way. 1, 2. I keep connected to the mat. Now I start on this side. 1, 2, and now I'm on this side for backwards. So I do 2 forward on the same side. 2 alternating sides, so one side then the other, and then 2 backwards on the same side. So again, it's 1, alternate, 2, same side, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and 1, 2. All right? Let's do it. Go.
It's actually easier when you can do a bunch in a row, forward or backwards. So it's a nice challenge.
Yeah, you start getting your momentum, and you gotta change direction. Couple more. Okay.
What's next? Sit-throughs?
I think so.
All right. So this time we're gonna start here, like this. Now I'm going to lift one hand and drop my hip between my foot and the other hand. And I point my leg diagonally forward. Now, I raise my body, touch my feet together, step over near this hand, put the other hand down, and drop my hip. Lift, touch your feet, step, drop. Lift, touch your feet, step, drop. What happens is you wind up doing a circle with your foot that you bring through like this. Right, a big circle. Now, usually when we do this, we go across the floor, walking across the floor with it, but you can pretty easily just stay in the same spot, you know, and just go back and forth, okay? So, all right, let's go. What else says he got it?
I guess it would be shot steps. So for in place, I mean, you can stand up, but it's going to be a little easier just to shoot forward, pivot, and shoot forward.
You probably have enough room to do two.
Sure. So you can go 1, 2, turn. 1, 2, turn.
Yep.
All right. And go. Hopefully you have a relatively soft surface to do this on.
Yeah.
And good.
If you don't, go much slower.
Yeah.
And remember, this will be recorded, so you should be able to go back later and review. Maybe do it slow. Next is back falls and sprawls. So hopefully I'm not cutting myself off too much here, but what I'm going to do is stand with my feet shoulder width. Make sure you have enough space behind you. Cross right over left. My chin goes on my chest. I squat like I'm trying to touch my hip to my heels, and then I rock. Right? Once I'm here, I go to the same position we just did for the backward scoot, but instead I'm going to lift my hip and step like we did for the sit through. So it's cross, chin on your chest, squat, rock, defensive position, lift, and step. Okay? So we're just going to isolate that. Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Okay, go.
Probably in 2.
You can slap the mat when the back of your lower back touches the mat. It's an excellent drill for any martial artist learning how to fall properly and get up safely. That's a close one. One more.
Sounds good. How do you describe your sprawls too?
What's that? Sprawls. Let's do this. There.
Okay.
You can maybe hopefully see
Most of
this
your.
better, I think. Anyway. All right, next we're going to do something called sprawls. So the beginning the beginner version of this is you're going to squat down and put your hands on the mat, drive your legs back, walk your hands back to your feet, and stand up again. All right, so hands on the mat, drive your legs back, walk your hands back, stand up. A little more sort of advanced version is you do the same thing but much like more exaggerated. So
Yeah, try to lift your feet more, I think. Right?
As I put my hands down, I'm gonna drive my chest down to the mat and drive my feet up toward the ceiling. Then I let my hips come down and then my feet, so my body doesn't like, smack on the ground. So it's kind of like this. Right. So those of you who know the sprawl, do that. But if you don't know very well, do the sort of, basic version.
Walk your hands back to your feet each time.
Yeah. All right. So let's, probably this is good.
Okay.
All right, go. Do that. All right.
I was trying to take cues from Professor Mark.
Uh,
All right, so I think the last one we're going to do is the walking push-ups. We're going to modify them a little. So, well, I think, start in this position. Walk your hands out, push up, and then rather than jump your feet, come back.
yeah.
All right, so we're going to do it more like we do sprawls. In class, if you do want to practice this way later, we walk our feet out, our hands out, push up, and then jump towards our hands, and then walk forward, push up, and jump.
Right.
So,
All right.
depending on your
if you have
space.
if you have a small space to work with, we're trying to stay within this
Yeah,
little area here, just to mimic
not get too close to the
the
camera.
situation for most people. So
All right.
if you have a small space, just do the version where you walk your hands out, walk your hands back.
Yeah.
Right?
And go. Two more. And one more. Okay. Let's take a couple deep breaths. Stretch your shoulders. Ready? One. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Two. And three. All right. Get a quick sip of water, and then we're going to do backspin drill. So if you have a partner, you can use your partner to do that. If you don't, you can use an ottoman, or if you have an exercise ball, fitness ball at home, or anything that kind of mimics that, depending on your size.
So,
Right, so depending on your size, you could use some form of version of a ball, right? So when you use a ball,
sure.
okay, you're gonna put your chest on the ball. So this is gonna be a little harder than a person, right? And your
Mostly
hands are,
because the rubber provides a lot more resistance.
yeah.
But that's okay, it's
With a person, my
not to
hands would
exaggerate.
normally kind of be on the person, but here I have to sort of rest them on the mat. And then what I'm gonna do is spin around the ball. One way, it's gonna make squeaky noises apparently, and then spin around the other way. Okay, you don't have to go fast.
Yeah.
Just try to maintain your form and spin around one.
We're gonna do a minute.
Yeah, minutes sounds good to me.
So what, you know, try to identify what your forward direction is. Go all the way around to the forward direction again, and then back to the forward direction. So you're gonna keep resetting.
One direction all the way around, then
you know, full spins, right?
Yes.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes. I think.
Go. It's actually easier when you have a partner, but trying to have situations where
Try to help you get. Another thing is you might have to reset the ball once in a while.
it does migrate sometimes.
I forgot which direction I went.
It doesn't matter. As long as you're doing full spins.
Running into the wall.
So it's all part of this awareness, I guess. Right?
Yeah. The ball has a mind of its own.
Awesome squeaky noises. Yeah, 5 seconds. And time.
All right.
Alrighty. Alright, so now we'll show you what that looks like if you do have a partner. And again, like if you can get a volunteer from the studio audience, I mean, basically the partner who's not doing the drill, all they have to do is go into what we call the turtle position.
Well, and
Like that.
right, we kind of push our back up too, right?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And I want to put this part, the center of my chest, right on sort of, you know, this part of the back here. And that should allow me to spin pretty good.
Do you have enough space for your feet?
Probably.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll find out. All right, so if you have a partner, or if you want to go again, that's fine, you know. All right, let's go.
People in my position, just stabilize.
Also, pace yourself. We're only doing a minute, but still, you're gonna find out quickly that this drill kind of sucks the life out of you a little bit. This is also good training for the person on the bottom. Sorry. 30 seconds.
Keep going, good work.
Sorry.
All right, nice job.
Woo.
Woo. All right, get another sip of water. I'm gonna get my first sip of water.
Was it? Oh yeah.
Good work. Excellent, excellent job. So we've been talking about how we're kind of limited in takedowns, but we can still practice takedown setups. So
Right.
Professor Mark's going to demonstrate what we're talking about.
So, right now we're just gonna practice the setup mostly. So, we're gonna fluff the gi like this on the collar. All right.
Just keep fluffing.
Even if you don't, even if you don't have a person to work with, you can do the ghost version.
Yeah.
So, what I'm gonna do is step. I'm going to look at my watch, right? Like this. Now keep your hand on. I go here. Now I'm going to step and then spin and put the other foot in front of Connie's. Yeah, probably. Okay. So my feet are going to go right in front of hers. Look. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you have a partner, you can do this. Look. Then back. 1, 2, 3. what's happening is this arm, I want to grip down here, you know, and I'm going to put, as I open here, this elbow is going to go under my partner's arm. And you need to find the right grip here. If it's too high, you're probably going to torque your wrist a lot. If I'm down here more, it gives me the freedom to put that where it needs to go. So it's like this, 1, 2, squat, and then lift the person with your legs, right? If you have a part, you know, don't even worry about the follow through right now, right? Let me follow through once so they can see what happens. So look, I go 1, 2, 3 here, and then I just follow through. And we're doing the slow version, right? In real time, you would go faster. But
You don't need to do that part.
Right now, just focus on the technical aspects.
You know,
Right?
especially if you don't have space, and especially if you're working with people who don't have a lot of experience falling in a small space.
So if you don't have a partner, here, imagine, right before, collar and sleeve grip, look, open, look at your watch, right? Then I turn and I go here. The arm would be on my forearm here. I squat and then lift. And that's all I need to do. 1, 2, 3.
Remember, muscle
Reset.
memory. This helps you build nice muscle
1,
memory.
2, 3. Reset, okay? If you have a partner, you have the added benefit of, you know, being able to lift and all that. And you should lift in a way where you're balancing them on your hip. Then you know you have it good. You have it close.
If you feel like you're going to fall down, or if the person starts sliding off, you're probably not bending your knees enough and getting under into their center enough.
So, let's do this. Should we do 1 minute or 2 for setups? And then switch? Let's do 2.
2.
What do you think? All right, so for this, we'll do 2 each. All right? If you want to just watch the first 2 minutes and then try to, if you've never done this before.
And you don't have a partner to switch on and off with.
Right, in the next 2 minutes, then you can, you can practice, okay? So, let's go. You don't need to hurry, right? Be relaxed. Okay. Hey. Yeah, this is harder with someone who's smaller, by the way.
I'm trying to get on my tippy toes.
So glad you don't really your feet.
Just naturally. Person in my position, you can move your chin out of the way. For self-defense, there's a nice built-in uppercut.
Yes. When you do this, the person's arms should kind of get stuck here. So that way they're locked in, and then you can follow through.
How much time is left?
40 seconds.
Okay.
Relax. Ten. Relax this arm. All right, reset.
he came completely apart. Apparently I can't tie my belt today. There we go.
Alrighty.
Go the other way, I think.
Ready?
We'll see.
Yep.
Try to find the right spot for your hand.
Right. What's part of it?
That's the part that I have to figure out.
Identifying where the best grips are. And then as you go, you can add a little more speed. So just kind of smooth it out. One minute. Yep. Ooh. I got the Rona.
No. That's Mark has wicked allergies.
It's allergy season. It's Rona season. It's duck season. 30 seconds. Maybe 3 more. Yep. Yep. Want to follow through on this one?
No.
Why not? Ten. All right. So here's something cool you can do at home, and maybe you can do this later if you weren't able to do this with a partner. But if you can tie, say, take a belt or a rope or a regular belt, you know, if you have one that's long enough, and you can just tie it to a pole or a chain link fence outside, or you know, whatever, the top of a stockade fence. But if you just kind of hold that like there, about, you know, 2 hands about like that. So what I'm going to do is try to imagine my grips, right? Collar and sleeve grip like this. Now a little higher, please. So now I'm going to go like this. Look, 1, 2, boom, and back. 1, 2, boom, back. 1, 2, squat. Make sure you squat when you get in there. 1, 2. So you can rep this over and over like 1,000 times if you want,
Just
and build that muscle memory. You know.
scarf if you don't have a belt.
Right.
Anything that allow, or even maybe even exercise bands if they're sticking up. You know.
Yep, we were talking to Rick Hahn recently, and
Couple
he
weeks ago
is
now.
yeah, what was it? Oh my
Yeah.
God, Jesus. He's a Olympian, you know, medaled in the Olympics a while back
Judo, right?
for judo. Yep, and I believe he trains with Pedro. No, I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, the most famous judo guy in America. Somebody write in the comments. But so we were talking to him about this drill as something that people can do at home, and he was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm going to do a video of it soon." And I said, "Oh, cool. Can we share that with our people?" He said, "Sure." So I'll have to go back and look and see if he did it, or But I would imagine it's happening soon. Anyway, so that's a drill you can do solo without a partner, So what else? What else are we doing? We
Side
going through
control
ground?
attacks, I think.
Side control. So let me just make sure that the camera is adjusted in a way where you can see what's happening on the ground more. I guess our heads might have been cut off a little bit on that, but it's all good. Okay. Did you want to do you want me to do the first one?
Yeah, I'm doesn't matter to me.
Okay. So what we're going to do, focus a little bit on today, is attacks from side control. Or side control is basically this, where you're holding the person down. You can think of it as restraining the person, maybe, if you don't do a lot of jiu-jitsu. But, this is a way that I can hold someone down, and if they don't know how to escape, it's going to be very difficult for them. So what I do is I put the center of my chest on the center of my body and the center of my partner's body. I spread my legs out for base, Usually there are different things you can do with your arms, but a really good way to go is I'm going to put this arm closest to the head under my partner's neck. This arm the closest to the feet, I'm going to have my elbow on the hip basically. I put my hands together palm to palm, and now I pull the person under, and I don't have to use a lot of strength. I'm only concerned with keeping them in this position, and I deliberately use my weight to kind of smash them down a little bit. I mean, if you're training, our sort of in-house rule is you don't it's not like competition. You don't smash the person to death, but you do want to put some pressure and practice putting some pressure. Common mistakes are people do this, right? I'm not controlling anybody right now. Okay, I need some weight on the person, and I need my base. I need to be able to keep my position, and I want her to stay where she is. So the way I do that, I don't want to be like, because I'm going to be exhausted in about 30 or 40 seconds. Instead, I just use enough strength to hold the person in this position. If she started to move around, maybe, I'm not trying to stop her from moving. I'm going to ride the position, and I'm only concerned with staying in the same position on my partner. All right, so that's number one, side control. Okay, do you want to talk about if you're on the bottom?
Sure.
If you have a partner, this is something they can practice.
So if I'm on the bottom, I want to do my best not to stay completely flat. I'm going to kind of tip a little bit more on the hip and shoulder that's closest to my partner. My inside arm, let me show them. I'm going to take my forearm and put it along my partner's hip, and my hand, the palm of my hand sort of rests a little bit on the back. Not a lot. I don't want to hold him on me. I just want to have a situation where I can feel when his hip moves, and I can keep his weight a little bit more off me. This arm, if you're brand new, this is safest for your arm, but it also exposes your neck. Here is the least safe for my arm, and then here, with my elbow, I still want my elbow in and almost, sometimes it can touch my own body, closed, because if I open it, sometimes I do this for pressure, but I don't want to leave my elbow open too long because then my partner can attack. Okay, so here my hand again is kind of resting or gripping the gi lightly. I don't want to pull the person into me because now I'm helping them with pressure. What I want to do is create a little space.
A very, very common thing is people who don't have experience here is they'll actually go like this with their arms around the person and pull them down. But now you're just pulling me. You're making my pressure worse for yourself.
And my arms are...
And your arms are exposed, and you're not in a position to escape the bottom here. So here's the thing for many martial arts, even boxing, kickboxing, karate. This is sort of like the fundamental defensive position, right? The guard position. It's kind of the same in jiu-jitsu. You want your arms protecting your body, your elbows close to your body. And by putting her arms in this position, she doesn't even have to use strength. She can keep pressure off of
I'm framing,
herself.
right? I'm using my arms to make a frame with the rest of my body to create space for myself.
Right. All right. So we've got the basic positioning down. So one of the things that I can do from here, as far as attacks go, is I'm going to take this hand and grab my partner's wrist. So the arm closest to the head is going to grab the wrist that I can see. I can't really see the other arm. Now I'm going to push her arm down toward the mat, and I land my elbow between the neck and the shoulder. This hand, if I didn't already have this arm under her upper arm, I would actually move it under there like this and grab my own wrist like this. Now I'm going to slide her elbow towards her feet, and then the last thing is, if I could, I would raise the elbow up like this.
Sorry, my shoulders are tight. They'll loosen as we go along.
I would keep the hand on the mat and raise the elbow up in the air. Do you want to do it to me? Probably better. All right, so Sensei Connie's going to demonstrate.
So we get into our position here. I'm going to take the arm that was behind the head and grip the wrist, place the back of his hand on the mat, and put my tricep on his neck. Go under here, palm down, grab my own wrist, right? The more I keep the back of his hand on the mat, the better. Then I'm going to slide the whole frame towards his hip as far as it'll go, and then slowly lift at the elbow. Do everything slow because you don't know what people's range of motions are. And you want to make sure that your partner has time to tap.
Right. Some people have shoulder injuries that they've been dealing with. Some people are more flexible than others. So it's always good. I mean, if you're doing this with a partner and they're not familiar with jiu-jitsu or tapping, tap early. Don't try to wait until you feel pain, or don't try to see how long you can go before you have to tap. No, tap early. Give yourself a chance to define where the limits are, safely, right? You don't want to go, too far too fast, and the next thing you know, something starts popping.
If it hurts before you tap, then you've already injured yourself. So it's not supposed to hurt. You're supposed to just feel pressure. Right. You're supposed to tap before the pressure becomes pain. Again?
If you're competing, that's a little bit different story, but people with experience, they know where the boundaries are, but if you're new, please be careful.
All right, so I've established my side control. I'm going to take my arm that was behind his head and get a grip on his wrist, drive it to the mat, put my own elbow on the mat next to his head, get this other hand. Now, if for some reason he was locking this down, if I shake his hand, I can get my arm under, grab my own wrist, make sure the back of his hand stays glued to the floor, drive the whole frame towards his hip, and then lift at the elbow.
Usually if this fails, is because you didn't move the arm towards the hip. Like if you have your arm here, there's a lot more flexibility with your shoulder being able to move this way. If your arm is here, it's very, very difficult. It cuts way down on the amount of, the range of motion you have to move for the tap, right?
Yeah, and the flatter you keep the hand, the quicker it will happen too, right? Sometimes people try to make a fist and lift their hand up off the mat, so.
Alrighty. So just take a minute to sort of visualize that and do a few reps, and then we'll move on. So either way. Yep. Yep. So the house rule here is Let me do one, two on each on the other side.
Yes.
The house rule here is you set up fast, you finish slow. So it's very important, especially at the end, to go slow. Look, 1, 2, boom. I already have it. It's pretty good. It's pretty locked. So from here, I'm just concerned with, you know, if we're going for submissions, I want to get the submission, but I want to make sure my partner has a chance to reset and go again when we're done. Right, so look, 1, 2. I grip both wrists. I'm not using my thumb here, by the way, look. Right, now, good. Am I doing another set?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll be like this angle. A good stretch.
Try the other side.
Sure. Man, it's been so long since we've been off the mat, everything's getting tight. All right, so that is known as the Americana, and I believe that name comes from American wrestling. Like it was at least once there was a situation where some jiu-jitsu guys, you know, grappled with some American wrestlers, and they were going for submissions, and one of the things that wrestlers did well, American wrestlers, was this one, you know, and so it's that's why it's called the Americana pretty much universally in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So let's look at one that's kind of similar, but kind of the other way. So now, sometimes, okay, so sometimes when you go here, the person will turn right, they'll bend their arm this way. Look, I'm just gonna catch it the other way. Now I put my elbow on the hip, on the mat, next to the hip. I still have palms facing down, grabbing the wrist. And just like before, now I move the elbow up toward the head, and then I elevate like this, slowly, right? So, or you could have a situation where you're here, and you go for this one first. So we have like what they call a double attack, right? Again, lift the elbow very slowly. Yeah. What can go horribly wrong here? I can't think of
Make
anything.
sure you go slow. That's all.
Mostly.
Nobody hurts their shoulder.
Right. All right. Let's do a few reps of that one.
The other side.
Yeah, I will. Sure.
What's gonna turn? Wait.
I think I need.
You need this
that?
arm. So.
Yeah? So flip your legs over that way. Boom. Okay. This way. So here. Reps back and forth. This angle is probably the best. Hitting the wall. stretch.
Okay,
I'm starting to weird.
5 minutes.
Okay, so let's look at something else.
Head that way.
I think this way's probably good to
Here?
start. Yeah. All right, so this time we're gonna do a little sneaky choke using the jacket. And so sometimes when people start doing jiu-jitsu, they go, well, I'm not gonna be wearing a gi in the street, blah, blah, blah. Well, you're not gonna be usually not naked either. You usually have a shirt on or a winter jacket, 5 months out of the year, or if you're in the Berkshires, 9 months out of the year. But anyway, so usually some of these things you can adapt to street clothing, or maybe you would do a no-gi version of it. I don't know if there's a no-gi version of this, but anyway. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my lapel from closest to the feet, like this, and I'm going to give it to this hand. So I started out here. Sometimes this is already loose. So I'm gonna give this to my hand here, like this. Now I'm gonna pull this up against the side of my partner's neck. At this point, and notice I'm still holding her down the whole time, right? I'm in a situation where I start to do this, and now my partner's free to escape, you know what I mean, and counter and all that stuff. So I want to hide what I'm doing partly too. So then once I have my grip and this lapel is up against the neck, I'm going to take the other hand closest to the feet and place it alongside the hip. Now I'm going to walk my knees up toward the head like this, okay? I put my head on the other side of the hip, and then I'm going to finish by cranking this way, right? Like I'm turning a wrench or something. All right? So.
And he's not, it looks like it, but he's not twisting my neck. He's bringing the gi around my neck and then dropping it down to choke me.
Right. And part of the finish is once the lapel goes across the neck, part of the finish is my arm will push the back of the head into the lapel. So it's a little deceptive. When I first saw this, I was like, I don't think that's going to work. And then it works.
And I should want myself to look away, right, on the bottom?
Yeah.
When you're on the bottom, just naturally let your head look away, right? And then the choke will happen and no twisting will happen.
Yeah, because you don't want to do, if you're defending yourself, it doesn't matter that much. But
yeah, but
even then, it's nice to get a nice clean choke.
Yeah.
But our goal is to choke and not crank.
Yeah.
Don't crank the neck.
Yeah.
You don't want to put undue pressure on the cervical vertebrae, the vertebrae in the neck, because for one thing, if you're training day in and day out, your injury rates are going to go way up if you're doing that, and it's just considered bad etiquette and stuff. A perfect choke is one that just cuts off blood supply to the brain.
So if you're in my position, you need to stay relaxed, keep your chin open so your partner can practice, because it actually will be worse for you than if you just let the choke happen.
Right. So, anyway, here we go. Look. So I got my grips. I'm holding my partner down. I sneak this over, and I give it to this hand. I pull it up against the neck. By the way, you don't want to have this so far up that you can't, you know what I mean? You're going to shut yourself down that way. You only need to grab like this. So there's a little bit of this left on the end here, like this, right? Now I place my hand on the side of the hip, and then I walk my knees up, put my head over here, and then if I had to, I would crank this way to finish. The reason why I put my hand on the hip over here is if I don't do that, my partner's just going to follow me when I walk my knees, right? So imagine if I go here, and I'm just doing it loosely so you can see. I go here. I don't put, every time I go here, she's going to adjust. Look. So I need to have a situation where I put my hand on the hip here so she can't move her hip to follow me, okay? So maybe I'll do one more like this. So look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Head comes over, and then I finish by doing this. All right? So, by the way, if you have questions or whatever, or you know, anything like that, you can leave questions in the comment section. We'll be happy to, you know, try to answer those later.
Alright, so we'll just rep that for about a minute. Call it a day.
Notice I'm not resisting right now. You don't want to have a situation where nobody can learn anything. You want to come to school and grapple? Hey, that's fine. Then we'll resist all we want. Move your head to the other side. Oh yeah. It's amazing how what difference that makes.
Yeah, if you don't move your head, the choke's not going to work.
Well, it's going to be much harder.
It'll just take forever.
Yeah.
You don't want it to take forever.
No, we want a nice clean cut, just like the samurai.
If you have long hair. My hair just keeps getting longer and longer. Yeah. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it for today. So again, if you have questions or something, let us know. Constructive stuff, please.
Just putting myself back together.
And if you're not already on our remote support group thing that we created for the students that are continuing to support the gym during this weird quarantine situation right here. If you're not already on that, you know, please make a request to get in and we'll put you in there. And if you need to re-up your membership or make a donation or whatever, you know, contact us and we'd be happy to set you up. Because we're doing 5 other classes this week in addition to this one, right?
4.
4. 4?
4.
Yeah, 4, sorry. 5
yeah,
total.
so we have been
total.
doing 4 and now we bumped it up to 5. So 1 public, which is this one, and then 4 on the remote access.
Right.
So,
and it's cumulative. So, you know, now we have 3.5 weeks of this.
yeah,
you can go
something
back
like
and
that.
review. You can go back and review. You can cross train.
Who's keeping track?
With like, you know, karate or Muay Thai, if that floats your boat. And so there's a few classes on there now. You can
really
replay
awesome.
at any time and just, you know, maybe it'll motivate you to do your own thing a little bit.
Okay.
So, all right, I think that's it. Huh? I think our heads might be cut off. So,
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, you guys, thank you. We'll
Right.
see some of you in 15 minutes for strength and conditioning.
Virtual fist bump and hugs. Thanks, guys.
Bye.